I never thought I'd see it with my own eyes. Aliens, yes, real aliens, sitting beside human students in a classroom. At first, everyone thought it was a joke. Cameras clicked, news anchors shouted, and social media exploded. But when the first alien turned its head, blinked twice, and said, "I don't understand this equation," the entire room went silent. No invasion. No war. Just learning. Together. These weren't monsters or holograms. They were real beings, thin, tall, eyes like liquid glass, trying to solve human math problems. And they struggled, just like us. But what happened next changed everything we thought we knew about intelligence, memory, and communication. Because within days, these alien students started learning faster than any human alive. How did they do it? What did they teach us in return? And why did scientists quietly seal off that classroom after only 7 days? The truth, as I found out later, wasn't about grades or experiments. It was about what they discovered inside our minds. And that discovery might explain why they came to Earth in the first place. Let me show you exactly how this happened. The first day began like any other school morning in London. Cold wind. Coffee in hand. Students half awake. But that day, when I walked into the science building, the air felt electric. Security guards lined the hallway. Cameras mounted on every corner. And there, standing by the classroom door, was a man from the government, calm, quiet, and watching everything. Inside the room, 6 empty chairs were waiting. Not ordinary chairs, adjustable seats made of some translucent metal that shimmered like liquid. The teacher, Dr. Hughes, told us to stay calm and act natural. "They're just students," he said, "just like you." Then the doors opened. They stepped in, 3 figures, tall and slim, skin faintly silver under the lights. Their movements were smooth, almost too perfect. But when one of them tripped over a backpack and awkwardly apologized, everyone exhaled. They weren't gods. They were awkward too. Dr. Hughes introduced them as visitors from another learning initiative, but everyone knew what that meant. These weren't exchange students from France or Japan. They were the first confirmed extraterrestrial beings to enter a human classroom. Their names were impossible to pronounce, so we gave them simple nicknames, Lyra, Now, and Ven. Each one carried a small orb, glowing faintly blue. Dr. Hughes said it was their learning translator. Somehow, those orbs helped them understand our speech, tone, and even emotions in real time. At first, they seemed slow. They couldn't follow jokes, struggled with handwriting, and blinked out of sync when we laughed. But by day 3, something strange started happening. They began answering questions before the teacher even finished asking them. They corrected our mistakes in math. They wrote essays in perfect English. And they started asking questions no one could answer. That's when scientists arrived, first from Cambridge, then from NASA. Whatever was happening in that classroom wasn't just education. It was evolution. And soon, I realized, I was part of something far bigger than school. Now here's where things get really interesting. By the 4th day, everything changed. Lyra, the quietest of the 3 aliens, asked to solve a complex chemistry problem on the board. It was an equation Dr. Hughes said would take a normal student at least 30 minutes to finish. Lyra stood there, staring at the symbols for almost a full minute. The room was silent. Then, without saying a word, she picked up the marker and began writing. Every line connected perfectly. Every formula balanced. When she was done, Dr. Hughes froze. She hadn't just solved the equation, she had simplified it. What took human scientists decades to understand, she completed in 2 minutes. The next morning, Now did the same with physics. Then Ven rewrote an entire English paragraph into something even more meaningful, same words, but somehow deeper. That's when I noticed something even stranger. Whenever one of them learned something new, the glowing orbs on their desks pulsed. Then the others suddenly knew the same information, instantly. No whispering. No notes. No talking. Just light and understanding. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Were those orbs some kind of memory link? A shared brain? Later that week, I overheard a scientist whispering. They're not just learning. They're syncing. Plot twist, that's when everything sped up. By the 5th day, They could repeat our lessons word for word. But they weren't copying us anymore, they were improving the lessons. Lyra started teaching back. She explained photosynthesis using sound and color, projecting light patterns through her orb. We didn't need books. We could see the process happening. The more they taught, the more we understood. And strangely, when they used their orbs near us, we started remembering faster too. Our brains worked quicker. We made connections we'd never made before. It was like their way of learning was contagious. But not everyone was happy. A small team from the Ministry of Defense arrived. They said it was for observation, but I noticed they carried scanners and neural monitors. They didn't smile. Dr. Hughes pulled me aside after class and whispered, "They're scared. Humans always fear what they can't control." I didn't know it then, but he was right. Because what happened next would make even the government panic. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. The scientists called it neural resonance. They said it was the first time they'd seen minds connect without wires, code, or speech. When one alien learned, the others felt it. Their brain patterns moved in perfect rhythm, like instruments tuned to the same song. And somehow, we humans began syncing too. By day 6, I could sense answers before hearing them. My focus sharpened. My dreams became vivid. I wasn't just remembering lessons. I was feeling the knowledge. At first, it was amazing. My classmates were joking that we'd all ace our finals. But then Dr. Hughes noticed something strange. Our test papers were nearly identical, even though we hadn't spoken during the exam. He ran a scan on our brains using one of the alien orbs. The readings showed faint pulses, similar to what he saw between Lyra, now, and Van. Somehow, our brains were catching their signal. But here's the twist, the aliens weren't doing it on purpose. That night, I overheard a conversation between Dr. Hughes and one of the ministry officials. He said, "Their way of learning requires connection. They don't compete like us, they share thought. When they sit with us, we become part of their network." The official replied coldly, "Then it's not learning. It's contamination." That word hit me hard. Contamination. To them, it was dangerous. To me, it felt like the future. Because if 3 alien students could teach 20 humans to think faster just by sitting nearby, imagine what could happen if every school in the world had that power. But power scares people. Especially when they can't control it. By the next morning, the government sealed off the classroom. Cameras were removed. News reporters were banned. They said the experiment was over. But we all knew something was off. The aliens didn't look angry or sad. They looked disappointed. Almost like parents watching their children make the same old mistake again, letting fear win over understanding. Before they left, Lyra handed me her orb. She said softly, "Keep learning. Together." Then, one by one, they stepped into the transport pod outside. A blinding light filled the room, and just like that, they were gone. The scientists claimed the pod malfunctioned. But I saw it. It didn't break. It teleported. Later, I discovered something even more shocking. That orb, the one Lyra gave me, was still glowing. And every time I studied or thought deeply, it pulsed. Almost like it was alive. This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. That night, I couldn't sleep. The orb sat on my desk, glowing faintly like it was breathing. Every few seconds, it pulsed, soft, steady, alive. I decided to study it. I connected my tablet to record its energy pattern, but nothing showed up. No signal. No battery. No heat. Just light. When I placed my hand over it, though, I felt something, like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. And then, a whisper. Not in sound, but in thought. "Are you ready to learn?" I froze. The voice wasn't scary. It was calm, gentle, and somehow familiar, like a memory of a teacher you trust. I whispered back, "Learn what?" No answer. Instead, my mind filled with images, stars forming, planets spinning, species evolving, all connected by glowing threads. It wasn't showing me space. It was showing me understanding. And suddenly, I realized something the scientists had missed. The orb didn't store information. It connected minds. It was a bridge. Every time Lyra, now, or Ven learned something, their orb sent that understanding to the others. It wasn't telepathy, it was empathy turned into information. They didn't learn faster because they were smarter. They learned faster because they learned together. And now that one orb was linked to me. Over the next few days, I tested it. I'd read about quantum physics, a topic I'd always struggled with, and images, not words, would appear in my head, visual explanations, feelings that translated the math. I started solving problems that even Dr. Hughes couldn't explain. My memory improved. My creativity exploded. It was like my brain had unlocked a new dimension. But it wasn't just me. When my classmates studied with me, they began understanding faster too, without ever touching the orb. It was spreading again. Quietly. Naturally. That's when it hit me. The aliens didn't come to study us. They came to merge with us. Not by taking over, but by teaching us how to share thought. Their biggest lesson wasn't about science or math. It was about connection, about ending isolation, competition, and fear. And maybe that's why they left. Because once the first human understood that kind of learning, their mission was complete. I remember looking at the orb one last time that night. The glow dimmed, as if it knew I understood. Then, for the first time, it spoke again, just one word. After that night, nothing looked the same. The sky, the people, even the smallest conversations, everything felt connected. I kept thinking about what the aliens had shown us. Not just faster learning, but shared learning. They didn't memorize facts, they experienced them together. Every discovery was collective. Every mistake was understood, not judged. What if that was their real secret? Not intelligence, empathy. I started testing it with a few classmates. Instead of competing on who could solve a problem first, we worked as one mind. One person would focus on logic, another on emotion, another on creativity. When we stopped trying to be the best and started learning together, our results skyrocketed. We solved complex equations in minutes. We wrote essays that felt like music. We didn't feel tired, we felt charged. It made me wonder, maybe human intelligence was never meant to be individual. Maybe we've been learning the hard way for centuries. And what if that was why the aliens came? Think about it, every major human invention came from connection, people sharing ideas, building on each other's work, expanding thought through communication. But somewhere along the line, ego took over. We started treating learning as a race instead of a conversation. The aliens reminded us what we'd forgotten. When their minds linked, competition vanished. They didn't just know more, they felt more. And through that empathy, knowledge became limitless. Now imagine if humans could do the same. No need for grades or ranks, just shared curiosity. A classroom where your success boosts everyone's, not just your own. That could change everything, schools, science, even politics. Because once people start thinking together, lies and division stop working. The truth becomes collective. But here's the scary part. Not everyone wants that future. Some want to control information, not share it. Others fear losing individuality. Maybe that's why the government sealed the classroom. Not because it was dangerous, but because it was too powerful. Knowledge that connects people can't be contained. It grows. And maybe that's what the orb still does. Even now, when I read or think, I feel that faint pulse. Like it's waiting for humanity to catch up. Because the real question isn't whether aliens will return. It's whether we'll be ready when they do. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. A few months later, I returned to the classroom. It was empty now. Dust on the tables, faded equations on the board. But when I sat in my old chair, the air still hummed, faint, electric, alive. I took out the orb. It hadn't glowed in weeks. But the moment I set it on the desk, it flickered once, as if it recognized the place. That's when something unexpected happened. The classroom projector turned on by itself. The screen filled with a pattern of light, shifting, swirling, forming shapes I'd seen before. 3 silhouettes appeared. Lyra, now, and Ven. Not in person, just light. A message. Lyra's voice echoed softly. We did not come to teach knowledge. We came to teach understanding. I froze. She continued. Your minds are ready. But only when you learn to connect, without fear, without pride, will you evolve beyond what you call human. The light faded. The orb dimmed. And then, silence. But something stayed with me, a feeling that they were still watching, still waiting for us to reach the level where learning isn't about memory, but unity. I looked around the classroom and realized, maybe the real aliens weren't them at all. Maybe it was us. We build walls around knowledge. We hide ideas. We compete instead of connect. They showed us what we could be if we learned to think as one, not a hive, but a harmony. And maybe that's how humanity finally joins the greater classroom of the universe. When I left that classroom for the last time, I kept thinking about what they said. We did not come to teach knowledge. We came to teach understanding. It still echoes in my mind. Because maybe that's what humanity needs most, not more data, but deeper connection. Think about it. Every breakthrough, every invention, every great story in human history happened when people shared ideas instead of hiding them. Maybe we were never meant to learn alone. Those alien students didn't show us a new technology. They showed us a new way to be human. And that, to me, is the greatest lesson of all. So the next time you learn something, try this. Share it. Explain it. Pass it on. Because knowledge multiplies when it's shared, just like their orbs. Who knows? Maybe every time we teach each other, we're already part of the same great network they wanted us to join. Maybe the connection has already begun. If this story opened your mind, hit subscribe, because our next episode dives into what NASA scientists discovered about real communication beyond Earth. You won't want to miss it. What do you think? Were the aliens trying to evolve us, or test us? Drop your theory in the comments below. I'll be reading them all.